So Buckt is a mystery ticket subscription. What that basically means is we've got a network of subscribers and every month they get 5 mystery tickets to different attractions and activities in their area. So I've had to threaten legal action, those sorts of things, but it's happened probably 6 months too late. We've partnered with quite a few. We've partnered with Birmingham City, Man City, Liverpool. If you're not giving 100%, how can you expect to have a 100% product? Like, if you're not giving your all, how can you expect that thing to be the best?
Welcome to the CEO of You, where we interview entrepreneurs, goal-getters, and ultimately anyone that wants to improve their life. And today we have another special guest, Daniel Bridgewater.
Shout out Daniel Bridgewater. Thank you for coming down from Celio today. Reached out to you through LinkedIn. And you also know one of our previous guests, True Pal. Big up True at home.
Yeah, big up True Pal.
Big up True Pal. So obviously today is going to be an interesting podcast, mainly focused around entrepreneurship, men's mental health, also the struggles and actually building a business. And obviously for you, you started your entrepreneurship journey very young, around 19, am I right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And now obviously you're doing great things with your own business. To the people at home, this is going to be an interesting one. Mm-hmm. And can you please tell them about your business you currently do now?
Yeah, so my name's Dan Bridgewater.
Big up.
I'm the founder of a company called Buckt. So Buckt is a mystery ticket subscription. What that basically means is we've got a network of subscribers and every month they get 5 mystery tickets to different attractions and activities in their area. So it could be 1 month they get tickets to go-karting, they might go rock climbing, to a football match. The next month they might go and do a crafting class, afternoon tea, whatever. And the whole purpose of it is just to try and get people to do unique things, try and push them out of their comfort zone, try and kind of break the monotony of life. A really good example of something that we've done, which is a bit quirky, we've done lightsaber duel. So what it is we took the subscribers, we had these lightsabers that you could use, like actually hit other lightsabers. Yeah. And we had the stunt double for Liam Neeson from The Phantom Menace that did these. And honestly, it's such a unique thing. You wouldn't think about doing it. But honestly, the activity was fantastic. The photos and the videos were just incredible.
So with that business there, is it you just receive 1 ticket to do 1 thing a month?
So you get 5 tickets to do 5 things. You can do them over a 3-month period. You don't know what you're going to get. It's a total surprise. And yeah, like I said, it's just about trying to get people to do new things, really.
Yeah. So how did this business idea come up? Because I would have never thought to give someone tickets to get them out of their comfort zone. Because it's like, it is for a good cause, as you mentioned before, to get people to do things that they don't do, try something new. But I'm just thinking, where did you come up with that idea?
Yeah. So I've spoken about this quite a bit, and I categorise it in kind of just 3 main factors, really. So the first was boredom. Then it was a breakup. Then it was a bucket list.
Oh.
So
is that chronological order?
Yeah, pretty much. and the alliteration works well as well. So what it was, me and my ex-girlfriend, we used to sit there for hours scrolling on our phones, trying to find stuff to do. We've been together quite a long time. And, 5 years into the relationship, you're thinking, you've done most things. So we would look, we would go on, Google, we'd go on Groupon, Voucher, and the problem is it would just waste the day. And what we'd end up doing is going to the pub, or just going shopping, or going for food, and it would be the same thing. One of the main factors of that is this idea of the paradox of choice. So it's this idea that the more choice you have actually makes it more difficult to choose. So if you're on Groupon, there's thousands and thousands of things on there. You're like, it just makes it really hard to decide what you're going to do. So that was the first thing. Me and that ex-girlfriend, we unfortunately broke up. And the reality was that I was actually like in quite a bad state. Like with lads, you kind of at first, you're like, I'm single. And then it hits you.
How did it hit you then?
It hit me, and I was depressed. I was
depressed.
Pretty despondent. Like it's a big change in your life. If you've been with someone since your kind of early years when you were a teenager.
Was he long since university?
He was from before university, so it was a long time.
You said it was 5 years?
But yeah, about 6.5 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, especially, and I was, And I had this breakup. I was pretty depressed. And one day, I don't really know what compelled me, but I decided to write a bucket list. So I woke up and I literally sat in bed and I wrote down this list of things that I'd always wanted to do but never had the chance. So it had big things on it like do a bungee jump, which I did end up doing. Go on go solo traveling, go on your first lad's holiday or whatever. And then there were small things like go to yoga. I'd never done yoga before. I thought, what's this all about? Go to a dance class. One of the things that always stands out is I wanted to teach myself how to do a bow tie, like an actual bow tie.
Yeah.
And what that did is it gave me this kind of like this changed my mindset to think one day I'll be doing these things and I'll be happy. It's such a simple thing. One day I'll be doing this bungee jump or I'll be solo traveling. I mean, one of the other things was go to Birmingham City versus Aston Villa derby. There's a blue nose, like, yeah, I did go.
Have you managed to do? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I managed it, yeah. It wasn't a good game.
Which game was it?
I think it was like a 1-0 to Villa or something.
Is that the game where Grealish got punched in the face?
No, it wasn't that one. I think it was on before that. But yeah, like it made me think, well, one day I'll be doing these things and I'll be happy. And that's such a small like mindset shift, but it genuinely really helped me. So there's all these things. I had this bucket list. I had this problem with my ex around trying to find stuff to do. And I'd always been interested in subscription services, and they all kind of came together. And
why was you always been interested in subscription services?
There was, when I was younger, I mean, the past 10, 15 years has been a real shift towards subscription. Netflix, Amazon Prime, things like Birchbox, HelloFresh, like whether it's a subscription box or whether it's like a subscription service like Netflix or whatever.
Even like Premiere Pro.
Everything.
PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation.
But you'll
Plus,
see that all of them, a lot of these organisations are switching to it because of the values of subscription, recurring revenue. You know roughly what you're going to be getting next month. It hooks people in.
I'll take the mic.
Oh
no,
it hooks people in, and for us, there's this whole idea of like fear of missing out. Like, what are you going to get next month? Maybe they're not enjoying the experience or whatever, but they're thinking, well, actually, what am I going to get next month? And it keeps them engaged.
Yeah, true.
So a lot of the businesses are switching towards that model. So really like that model. Really like this whole idea of like a bucket list, and this whole idea of like how doing things can help with mental health, can help with your own personal life. And like I said, me and my ex struggling to think of stuff to do. Well, what about if you got things delivered at the time it was in the post to you that you could do for the next few months? Like, how cool would that be? And I just thought it was such a really cool idea. And then I started doing testing, started speaking to people. And the one conversation that really stood out is I employed somebody for another business that I had. And I went into the conference room with him and I started like drawing it all out on the board, like what I think this would look like. Yeah. And he sat there and he goes, mate, you've got to do something with this. This is like a cool idea. So yeah, that was the first conversation, first time I'd really spoken to somebody about it. And yeah, the rest is history, man. We've been going kind of 6 years now. 6 years. Yeah, survived through lockdown, which was a big thing for us. Like,
because I can imagine with that not a lot of people.
Well,
were you still sending stuff out?
What we did is we launched something called Buckt Home. So we launched like an at-home variation.
Yeah, so obviously in times like that, you need to pivot and adapt. I mean,
at first, the first couple of months, I was like,
talk to me, because that must have been.
Honestly, I just thought, I was actually quite chilled. I was like, this is the first bit of, because I work intense, man. I work long hours. I do it because I enjoy it, but it's also, I felt like that's what I needed to do, especially in the early days. And then it was a bit worrying at first, but then there was this breath of like, this moment of going, well, I've got a bit of time just to kind of chill out, to like think about things, to read, to do whatever. And then I started thinking about this at-home variation of the product. And at first it was like this, it's just going to be £5, like, something cheap, something really low cost, something simple. And then it evolved into like basically a full-time thing again. But actually adapting, not only did it maintain our revenues and allow us to keep our revenues going, and actually we were turning over more money than we had done previously. But actually that story about adapting and pivoting and how we as a team responded, but also how the business model was robust enough to deal with those things was really valuable when we tried to get investment. So investment, that they all care about like the stories and stuff. They care about not just the numbers. They want to know about you, and that was such a powerful story for us.
So Buckt Home, what happened?
So yeah. So with that, the type of thing that you'd get would be things like crafting kits, online masterclasses, like baking kits, that kind of stuff. But then when lockdown ended, it just was proving so difficult to make it work and to make profit and to sell it, really, that the interest had just dried up. So we just then went, you know what, let's just go back to the original product.
That is, I just realized how like creative that is, because with the subscriptions, I could imagine you do like different packages. Because as you mentioned, when you was with your previous partner, you was always looking for something to do. And then you mentioned on your own bucket list, you had things you wanted to do as a solo man. So do you do like subscription packages for that equate to different people? So like, let's say a single man, you might want to try to do single alone movie nights, and a couple in a relationship, they may want to do baking stuff together. Do you have anything like that? Or is it, how does the subscriptions work?
So at the moment, it's for 2 people, and
Is it always 2 people?
Yeah, 2 people. Okay. We did have it where you could subscribe on your own, but what we found was that the amount of people that did it was like minimal, and they're less likely to stay subscribed, because you stay subscribed because you're doing it with other people. If you're doing it on your own, you go to a trampoline park on your own, it's not the same experience, is it? And also be a bit weird if you're just there, just like bounce it away. But we know as the business, especially recently when we've been kind of like looking at our strategy again, we know that the way this business survives is through diversification, and the way this business grows and the way this business becomes the business that it could be is through diversification. Because the reality is you're not going to get 1 million people just in Birmingham subscribing to this product. Like, it ain't going to happen. It is a product that is in its niche, and it understands that. People who love it absolutely love it. People like, I meet these subscribers, and the way they talk about it, helped my relationship. It, stopped us from getting bored and all this kind of stuff. Like, they absolutely gush about the product. But those that just don't get it, that's fine. There are people like that. So we know that we've got to be in more regions. We know that we've got to introduce things like family subscriptions. We've got to introduce these products, and that's just it's how. I mean, the reason why that kind of change in mindset's come around is because you have to be constantly reviewing things. You have to be strategizing. You have to be looking back and going, what's working, what isn't working. And that was a real strategy shift for us, because we really wanted to grow it in the regions we were in. But actually what we found was that, in all fairness, it's going to be easier to grow in the new regions and to have new products and to do this, that, and the other. And that, like I said, that's really changed our business approach moving forward.
That's beautiful.
So with all that being said, I'm not sure if you're going to answer this question or not, but does like your profit margins like fluctuate?
Yeah.
Because do you send out like more expensive tickets some months and then?
Yeah. So it's a good question. So I won't go into the full ins and outs of it. But one of the things that we are looking into more of is how you make that profitability more consistent, because it doesn't really matter. Like, at the end of the 12 months, if 1 month's more profitable than the other or whatever, or it's mainly around the cost of goods sold. So the point you're saying about whether something's an expensive ticket versus a lower cost ticket, ultimately it kind of at the end of the year, it all balances out, but it makes it hard to predict. So if 1 month your cost of goods sold is 70%, and the next month it's 20%, and the next month it's 50%, and the next month it's 30%, like, how can you strategize around that? Like, it makes it really difficult. So one of the things we are doing is to try and make it a bit more flat and a bit more consistent.
And how do you plan to do that?
Without boring with all the boring details, there's changes.
Please, we understand it. Yeah.
So there's changes to our accounting practices that make it a little bit more consistent with. It is genuinely really boring, man. It's like accountancy stuff, but like how we're accounting for things, like when invoices are going out and then what months they're being attributed to.
Okay.
Also, actually just working on profitability in general, being really tight with budgets, making sure that your team are sticking to the budgets that they're given and there's no wiggle room. Making sure that you've got enough time for us, at the end of the month, we've got to confirm the activities. Make sure there's enough time in advance of that for us to go back and renegotiate, to squeeze people a little bit, to get those prices down. Making sure that we're like our discount point on the first month is actually it makes it profitable. Yeah, because with subscription businesses, and we made this mistake, it's really easy to go, we'll do it really cheap the first month, get people in, they'll stay, blah, blah, blah. But actually, what we found was that first month discount was having like a major impact. I think it was like 30%. It was impacting our bottom line by about 30% because the discount was too low. And by just shifting it a little bit, we've been able to mitigate against that. So we've basically dissected the business and gone, what are the areas we can do to make it more profitable? What are the areas that we can do to make it more sustainable? What can we do to kind of guarantee the success and the future and the survival of this business? And as people who have been subscribed will know, there's been changes that have come in to do that. One of them is a price increase, unfortunately, changing the discount, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So obviously the business model I think is great. What you're doing is great, especially for every person. But what I want to understand is, how is it you generate the tickets so like they have maybe an event which would cost to have a lot more money, and then next week they have like low funded tickets? Do you see what I'm trying to say there?
It wouldn't be like that.
How is it you is it like a random generated tickets?
So we curate it. So we would look at what they've had in the past few months, what they've got coming up. We'd look at that selection of tickets and make sure there's nothing that clashes. There's a lot of factors at play, whether that's...
Is there a price factor that plays? Like they might have a ticket which costs a lot, and then next week they may have tickets which cost more cheaper.
They get five tickets. So, and I don't think this will be, surprise any subscribers because they can kind of see within the activities. But you generally get like 1-star activity. So, so you might get like your axe throwing, which is £22 or £23 per person RRP. So you're paying, up until recently, it was 30 quid for 2 people. You're paying £30 for 2 people for 5 activities. And one of your activity alone is worth £22 each, so £44. So it's just doing that one activity, you're getting your value. And then on top of that, you've got 4 other activities, and that might include maybe like 2 or 3 mid-tier ones, and then one which we internally would class as like a low-tier one.
So you have like tier tickets. So would someone be like, so everybody each month it spent 1 5-star ticket, 3 3-star tickets, and then like a lower tier.
And we don't publicize that. We don't explain that to the customers because it's just not that important. But what we've found is that if there's one real star activity, even if they don't like the other 4 activities, but they do the one activity, they feel like they're getting their money's worth, and they're more likely to stay. Because what we've tried in the past is having 5 like mid-range activities, and that isn't as successful as having one really star one. And great. Yeah.
So how do you receive feedback on an activity that does well? Do you see that the ticket's been redeemed, or do you send out an email to say feedback?
It's a bit of both, really. So we can see how many people have redeemed that activity.
Okay, so you know which ones pop off.
Yeah.
Can we get an idea which ones pop off?
Axe throne is always the one I would do
axe throne. Yeah, that sounds sick.
Axe throne always.
You got me finger to subscribe.
Yeah, fact.
Well, we've just done, depending on when this goes out, e-karting. It's like go-karting with electric carts.
Okay, that sounds sick. I'll do that.
That was popular. Go-karting, things like in the summer months when you do like stand-up paddleboarding or kayaking, those ones tend to be popular.
I've never done kayaking.
Food cocktail masterclasses. We've done whiskey tasting. Like anything, like, I mean, it's what you think would be popular. Like, generally, if we could probably predict which is popular, and I could ask you and say, what about these? Which one do you think is going to be fantastic? Which one's? And I
don't know, but because what you said earlier said to me, where like to try something new, I'm the kind of person I'm down for anything. Now you said that, I could just try. I'm like,
this is what I mean.
I might go and try. It gives me something to look forward to.
The view that I have with it, and one of the things that kind of pushed me to start the business up, is that I think even when something isn't exactly to your taste, there's still a memory there. There's still something that you can look back on and go, like, that was something that happened in my life that I can talk to people about. A good example was, and I spoke about this recently, we did a scare maze. And this scare maze was like next level. Like if you looked at the reviews, I'll tell you what, so a scare maze is, you go in, it's all like a haunted house, but there's actors in there and they're wearing masks and they're like dressed up. And some of them are quite tame, like they don't come near you and they just jump out and this was next level. And if you looked at the reviews, it was constantly seen as like one of the best ones in the country.
Okay.
And we did this, and the girl that I was with, we went there together. And her and the other people that were in our little group were screaming the whole way. They hated it. I was like laughing because genuinely, I knew that they're not going to hurt me. I knew that, so I had that in my brain. But it was just so intense, man. It was just such a cool experience. But that is the activity that she would always like bring up. Like she didn't necessarily. It wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't this lovey-dovey activity. This is amazing. She did this activity. It was scared at. She didn't necessarily enjoy it, but it's the one that sticks in her brain as like the most memorable, the one that she tells stories about. And that's kind of what we want to achieve. We don't want people to just do what's safe. We want people to try new things and have a little bit, do something a bit different to create those unforgettable memories.
So the feedback, what sort of feedback do you receive then for like people in relationship? Because that would be very exciting. Like, ooh, I wonder what we're gonna get on the for the 5 tickets we're gonna get for this month.
It's a really good question because we get this. So the good example in the olden days when we first started, we used to send out olden days. Well, like when we first started, we used to send out a box in the post, and the box would have a booklet in it, and they would then go through the booklet and it would tell you the activities and how to book it. And like people would talk about it like a ceremony. It would come in the post and they'd wait for the partner to get home and they'd get themselves a cup of tea or a glass of wine. They'd sit there and they'd open it together and they'd sit there and look at it together. And they're the kind of stories that we get. We get people that say genuinely, like maybe tongue in cheek, but this is like kind of saved our relationship a little bit. And it's the people that mirror the experience that I had with my ex, struggling to find things to do, wasting time, doing the same things. Like, I mean, I enjoy going to the pub. I like having a few beers. But if you're there like every week spending blowing 50 quid, 100 quid, whatever it may be, every single week on the same experience, going to the pub, getting drunk, eventually that starts to, like taking its toll a little bit. And that's the type of feedback we get. I was going to the pub all the time, but actually now this has encouraged me to go to kayaking, to go to this, I don't know, bongos, bingo type activity, go and do it. Just gives you those other experiences, those other memories.
I've got a few questions.
Hit me, man.
One, is it only for people in Birmingham or is it in the whole country?
So we currently are in Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool and London.
Okay.
But we've just announced that we're expanding into Bristol, Bath, Cardiff and Worcestershire.
So the activities, is it local to the city you're in?
Yeah, localised, yeah. So it's a 20 to 30 minute commute,
So do you categorise it? So like, let's say, obviously when you ask for the name and address, that's where you get the address to categorise it. So each ticket, so let's say I was someone like a younger couple.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you could imagine, the younger couples working, don't we have more time. Could every activity be within commuting distance, like the bus?
We say 20 to 30 minutes, but what we say from the city centre. So they sign up to a specific one, Birmingham one and Manchester one.
That's still good. That's still good. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to travel like 2 hours,
like York or something.
And it does make it more challenging. But like you have to do that because if it is 2 hours away, you're just not going to do the activity.
But could you like do that? Let's say, as I say, because like you know when they give you the information and details, there's more information to process. So let's say you said there's both 27 years old in the group. Yeah. Obviously they're both driving. Do you ask questions like that? Like, are you driving?
We don't.
So that means you could commute to maybe an even more better 5-star ticket. That's maybe further than
we don't at the moment, but we're not oblivious to the fact that the trend in subscription at the moment is personalisation.
Okay, so is that where you get to?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So
that's amazing.
But a lot of subscription services are going towards like personalisation and trying and using data more, and we're probably a little bit behind with that. If I'm being honest, we need to improve on our data capture and the data that we use. And there's things that we're working on. There's been setbacks, technical setbacks, which I won't go into, man. But like, if you know, you know. Like, because it's been like a thing, like within my business network and other team. It's like just, But that just, I mean, without going into the ins and outs, basically our app has been delayed. We've had a new app that's been built. We've got an app currently. We're getting a new app built. Been delayed significantly.
Massively. How come you get? Do you want to say like a few months or?
Is it weeks, months, a year?
Nah, it's embarrassing the amount of time. I'm not telling you.
Boy, are you gonna say 2 years?
No, it's not. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But it is. It isn't like. I should have been putting pressure on earlier, and it's a lesson for me. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, gave them breathing space.
Yeah.
When really, when that deadline was missed, and this is what will happen in the future, when that deadline's missed, I'm going to them saying, look, what's going on? Like, I've had to threaten legal action, those sorts of things. But it's happened probably 6 months too late. I should have done that on the point when those deadlines were missed. But I'm quite a forgiving guy, and I let them have that breathing space. I just wanted it done. I didn't want to put pressure on and get something that didn't work.
Get something that was rushed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And generally, I mean, on a little side note, that's one of the struggles that we've had as a business. Agencies, working with partners, working with other organisations.
I feel like working with agencies has been difficult.
Yeah, 100%. Because you put a lot of faith in agencies and you don't really know if they're going to work or not until 6 months down the line. It's the same with staff. You put a lot of faith in someone. You go through the recruitment process, which could take a few months. They start, you give them the benefit of the doubt, and you know, you could get 3-4 months down the line, you're like, okay, look, I've got to sack this person. You've invested all that time, you've invested all the recruitment period, you've lost the second and third place applicants that were strong, and you will only know that you'll only know whether you've made that mistake 6 months down the line, which is genuinely one of the biggest challenges of running a business. It is hard, and you can do your best to try and overcome that and mitigate that, but
you can't prepare.
You can't predict it, man. So we've had bad marketing agency, bad developer. Where
do you not have a marketing team for yourself?
No, we've always outsourced it, and the rationale behind that was that you're paying them for their expertise. They've got people in their team that are experts at data, experts at TikTok, expert at this, expert at that. If you had one person or two people doing that, they're not going to have all of those expertise unless they're a real kind of gem. And to get the level of expertise that those agencies have internally, you'd need to be investing a lot more money than what you would have to spend for an agency. On the flip side, the agencies, once again, performance issues, it's hard to, especially with marketing, you only see that 6 months down the line.
True.
They may end up putting you speak to the top person when you're signing up.
And then
after that, you've got like the junior member of staff. So I think both ways are difficult. And like I said, it's only 6 months down the line when you actually realise and you actually can take that lesson and move ahead. But yeah, it's tricky.
So how is it you market your service?
So our main form is through like Meta and TikTok ads.
Okay, so you do like a lot.
Yeah.
Do you do like who records the content for you guys?
The style that we have is more like selfie style, like really, because that's the thing that people, if you're on your Reels or TikTok and you see this really like polished ad, it doesn't feel like it's native content. It doesn't feel like it's natural.
Yeah.
But what we do is we have someone talking to camera, hey, you signed up for this, and then it cuts away to video of the activities. That's the general style that we take. And they work well. But like I said, we had an agency that didn't perform very well, and now we've just gone back to a new agency, back to our old agency to kind of get the wheels turning again.
And have you never thought to like have like an influencer do one of your activities?
Yeah,
and then them just recording one of the activities that they've done.
I was gonna say that is great because I don't know if you see like some of the American YouTubers where they do like the gifts where basically the company would pay them and then you show like a random roulette spin of the gift and then you give a link. And you ever thought about doing something like that?
We've done influencer stuff in the past, but more like micro influencers. So like
myself.
Yeah. Well, the trend that as apparently is what's happening is these big influencers. So when you're paying like 10 grand for one post or whatever, they haven't got the engagement nowadays as like a small person when you're paying 500 quid for a post. So the strategy that we've taken is you work with smaller ones, and also because we're localized, you can't get, I don't know, someone from Towie, let's say, to do it because they would have a reach across the whole country. Whereas up until now, we've only been in 4 regions. So your reach, I don't know, 40% of that, 50% of that is not going to be, it's going to be to people that can't even buy the product. It just doesn't make sense to do it. But yeah.
Okay.
Also, before we even move on from this, why did you choose 5 instead of 4? Because typically there's only 4 weeks in a month.
Well, they get 3 months to do the activities.
Yeah.
So they get it in a month. They get 3 months to do the activities, but then they will get their next set of tickets the following month. So you've always got like a 3-month window to do it in. It's a good point in all fairness. Like,
because in my space, because obviously I do like the podcast, and then we do the sales job, and then obviously I got my own content and my clients' content to edit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe this week I can't go, but next week I can. But then I'm gonna have like 2 spares.
yeah, you know what? I don't actually know. we have just introduced a 3 product tier.
Okay,
So we have got like a 3, but I'm actually thinking like, where did the 5 come from? And I don't know, I can't remember. I actually can't remember. There would have been a thought process that had gone through it, and there would have been like a costing up of how much what activities we can get and stuff. But
because I mean, it would still make sense for 1 a week, and you would put 1 less through, so your profit would.
I can't remember,
Every Saturday night, I've used all 4 tickets.
I don't know.
1 ticket, like, I don't know when I'll use it.
I think it might have been. I think at the time it might have been. I think we might have done some research, like looking at like what numbers work for people and price points and this that, and the other.
Yeah, I was gonna
it
say
might have been
probably
in there,
was that.
yeah. But actually, I can't remember. I don't know.
What's been, besides the scary place, what's been your favorite ticket you've used yourself?
Oh man.
Or maybe the ticket you received the most feedback from, where they've been like, wow, send us this ticket again.
The one that always surprised me, and I talk about this a lot, but it sounds pretty naff, but it's one that always would come up in conversations. We had a partnership with like just a standard bingo hall, like just standard, but they got like a meal, they got like a beer and all that included in it. And there was a lot of people that I spoke to that went, you know what, when I saw that, I thought, it was a bit naff. But when I went there, I loved it. I've booked to go back. I won 50 quid. And genuinely, and I don't know why, but like that was one that kind of.
Oh, that's lit.
I think it's one that's the biggest surprise, because I think bingo. But when you go and do it, it's actually like quite addictive. It's quite a good fun activity, especially if you're walking over 50 quid. But yeah, I mean, my favourite ones. I've done loads, man. The one that really sticks out that I did recently. So I went up to Liverpool. And there's a place called Point Blank Shooting, and it's like a bar, but they've got virtual shooting ranges in there. And they've got all these guns. You've got like shotguns and stuff. And
was it pellet rounds though?
No, it's like a screen, but it's laser, so it's connected to the screen, to the projection. Yeah. But I went up there, and up in Manchester next weekend, as I do, I kind of go and visit our partners. My colleague Deb is really good at saying to them, can you sort them out a few like free beers or something like? Because I mean, we work with them, we spend a lot of money with them, so they should really. So by the time I got there, I was pretty tipsy, and I was just having such good chats with the managers, and like we were best friends by the end of it. But I just remember the activity was just so much fun. Like genuinely, was like proper. Because you got a beer and you're shooting things, man. What more could you ask for? Like, but I mean,
sound like a good Saturday night to be fair.
It is. And I mean, I did Axe Throne recently again. I've done that about 4 times now. Rage Room.
I've always wanted to do a Rage Room.
What's that?
I couldn't find any in Birmingham.
Yes, there used to be one.
Okay.
And it's closed down now. So we had a really, really good partnership with them. And
what is it?
Rage, when you just go to smash it.
You just smash it. Okay,
yeah, so you got all the stuff. You go in there, you smash it up. Oh, that is so much fun. That is so much fun.
I've always wanted to do one.
Yeah, and we've done it a few times. We've looked at setting up our own one. That's maybe on the cards. Like we have, because we've got the guys who used to run it. They now do consultancy of other ones, and they. I mean, it's obvious when you know it, but the other businesses around the country, they have to charge a bomb because they don't look at it the way that he looked at it. And we used to work with him, and he now does consultancy for those businesses. But basically, we were going to work with him. He had all the shortcuts, all of the connections, all this and the other. So it is something that's on the cards potentially. But that's how I think we grow the business. Having our own venues, buying different attractions.
I was going to say, yeah, that would be...
So how is it? Because obviously, to get these tickets, and obviously at discounted price for you guys, I understand you got a lot of partnerships. How is it you approach to gain a partnership? If you're allowed to talk about that.
I won't go into the ins and outs of it, but it's pretty straightforward what we do, because we give them a proposition. We make them an offer that's too good to refuse. Yeah. And I was going to do the accent then. I was going to try and do the Godfather impression. But I think I don't want anything to go viral in bad way. But like that's what we do. We just make them a proposition, give them a proposition that's too good to refuse. And then when you build a relationship, that's when you can kind of start negotiating, start getting the prices down a little bit, start making it still got to be mutually beneficial. And that's always the way we approach it. It's got to be mutually beneficial, but you know, we've got to run a business. We've got to make our profits, and we've got to, and sometimes you've got to get it to this price when they want it at this price. And that's when your skill comes in and the techniques and things that we've used over the years. So I can't go into too much detail. Yeah. It's part of our secret sauce, but...
Obviously, yeah, I wouldn't expect that, but obviously there is a lot of negotiations when you go into...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any football tickets?
Yeah, so we've done... I mean, in Birmingham, we've done Birmingham City.
You looking to do Villa?
Looking to do Man United?
Man United, yeah.
We've done... So we've partnered with quite a few. We've partnered with Birmingham City, Man City, Liverpool. But we've done women's football as well. So we've done women's football. We've done tours. We've done a lot of stuff. We've never worked with Villa. So if they're listening, if they want to do something...
Villa's down the road as well.
Yeah, just reach out, man. I mean, at the moment... We've been in discussions with Charlton Athletic in London.
I'll go watch some football.
And because I don't do that often. I'm not involved in the day-to-day of that side of it now, but there was another one. There's a few like London ones. We've worked with a few London ones in the past as well. So, yeah, but football...
That'd be sick.
Yeah, so it's... I mean, that's it, especially the women's football as well, because if I'm being honest, the tickets are cheaper, but you're still getting a good experience, especially nowadays. Like, the quality of the football has definitely increased. Like, it's been... I remember going to see Birmingham City women's football... maybe 6 years ago when we just started out, because they actually subscribed. They had a group subscription. And the quality since then is just astronomical. It's a really, really like entertaining game, especially when it's at the main stadium as well, which not all of them are.
Yeah.
So the feedback from them have been fantastic.
So, talk based on feedback.
Yeah.
What happens if I don't like my 5 tickets?
Oh, man.
What happens if you told me I'm going rowing? I don't want to row. You said you want to go here. I don't want to go here.
What
happens if I don't like my tickets?
The view that I have is...
Do I get sent an extra ticket for compensation? Or
we are working on something, which I can't really talk about. We are working on something because up until very recently, I've been very... I don't want to say defiant, but that's the word that's coming. I've been very much like, this is the model. People, it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people, and that's fine. Like, that's fine. If you, like the thing that the inside joke that we have is if somebody asks me what they're going to get next month, the product isn't for them, because the mystery is as much, is as important to the product as the activities themselves. It's because it's that whole idea of like that excitement, that surprise. So I've always been very much like, well, you know, if you don't like the activities, you know it's a mystery subscription. You've got, like, we want you to try and do new things, but unfortunately tough. That's kind of been the view. but we are changing that. And because we know that A, impacts our revenue, B, impacts the experience of the customers. Like if you do get 5 activities you don't like, you're not going to have a good experience and you're not going to have a good impression of the brand. So we are working on something which will be a bit of a game changer around that.
Oh, game changer.
Which it will be.
Mate, I'm thinking to subscribe already, man.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
same, for real.
Something to give me to look forward to.
But, yeah.
So obviously, when do you feel like, I don't know if you do it yet, or if you mentioned it, your cater packages the personalization? Because let's say he's in a relationship, so he would have his, I'm a single man. Let's say, as you said before, in yourself, you wanted to do a lot more solo stuff. So for me, I want to try and do a lot more solo stuff. It's been on my goal to go on a solo holiday recently.
Yeah, I've just come back from Southeast Asia on my own. Which was,
you went on a solo holiday?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. How was it? Because someone said to me, solo holiday is a really good experience.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I was there. So my friend was getting married over in Thailand, so I used it as a bit of an excuse to kind of, whilst I was going over there, I was like, I'll go to Thailand, but then I'll do some other stuff. I preferred, I mean, probably shouldn't say this, but on my own, I absolutely loved it because you can just do what you want. And when you're an entrepreneur, I was working whilst I was over there as well. So I'd wake up, I'd go out and see a local site, go to a temple, go to, I don't know, whatever, go and have some food. I'd come back and I'd work alongside my team and then finish at about 10 o'clock and I'd just go to the clubs and the bars and like, it gives you so much freedom. But genuinely, I absolutely loved it. I was very nervous about going out on my own, but then someone said to me, that is part of solo traveling. Those nerves, overcoming those nerves, that feeling, that is actually not something to be shied away from, but something to lean into, something to like chase, I guess. And that was really a reassuring thought. The experiences you get over there, the people you meet, it was just phenomenal. Like genuinely was such an amazing experience. So I would say do it. I've done it a little bit later in my life. Whereas, I mean, I don't want to say that I should have done it when I was younger, but when you're younger and if you're maybe early in your career and you've got the opportunity to do that, try and do it.
Do it, bro.
Mate,
yeah. So back to the solo package.
Yeah.
How would you create that?
So,
and what kind of stuff could I look forward to?
The way that there's two ways of looking at it, and the one is that you do try and personalize it to the specific couple, let's say. So you ask them, do you like this, and this? My view around that, and the view that we kind of have collectively as a company, is that if I ask you what you want to do, you are going to say certain things. You might say, like, football. I want to go to a football match. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. Firstly, you're not going to say the things, you don't know what you don't know. You're not going to say sumo suit wrestling. Or, like, you're not going to say, I want to go to, I don't know, try new food or something along those lines. You won't say something that you just don't, it's not coming to mind. So you'll always be in this box of doing things that are safe. And our view, like I said earlier, is to try and push people to do new things. Like the bingo activity, for example. I'm not saying that's our star activity. I don't want to let anyone think that that's the case. But you wouldn't say, I want to go to bingo, but if you go there and you have a good time, you have a good time. Scare maze, like you're not going to say, I want to try this scare maze, but when you go there, the adrenaline and the change in emotion that you get from a scare maze is something
that's... Is it really that scary, though?
It's
intense.
I just feel like
it just sounds so fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Intense.
Like running around. Like.
Well, what they do is you have like a leader for the scare. Really quickly, you have like a leader, and then there's like maybe 4 or 5 of you in like a row, going behind the leader. But they'll stop you at certain points, and like there's this one bit where the lights are flashing on and off, and then there's someone with a mask on and a chainsaw coming towards you. So obviously, as the lights go off, you can't see them, and they're just getting closer and closer and closer until they're right in your face. There's no physical contact there, but that in itself.
What happens if you react on accident?
Yeah, punch or something.
I
don't know, man. I won't be surprised if something like that happened, because there was times where people walk past and they touch your hair and stuff.
Whoa.
And creep. It is genuinely really good. But yeah, so that's the one hand. And the one hand is you don't know what you don't know. You're not going to pick things you don't want to do. Would you choose to go to a rugby match, let's say? Or would you,
I've never been to one.
But this is a thing. But would you think about writing that down on your phone?
I wouldn't.
But then if you get tickets to go into the Wasps or whatever, that's a great experience. So that's the first thing. The second thing around the personalisation is it does present challenges. It also presents this element of, let's say you wrote down football, basketball, I want to go to a bar and I want to go cocktail master classes. If you don't get that, you're going to be disappointed. And the way the business model works is if we gave you all 5 activities in that first month that you've ticked off at the start that you really want to do, what is next after that?
Yeah, I'll just cancel stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's a bit like, well, if you don't get that thing, you feel like you've asked for it and you've not been given it. But if you know at the beginning that you're going in there, it's a mystery subscription, you don't know what you're going to get, it's going to be a surprise, and you acknowledge that and you're fine with that, then that's when you get the value from it.
I'm sold.
Oh, mate, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'll give you a discount code. I'll sort you guys out.
No, we should. If you watch the episode, check the description down below. Yeah. Discount code for you guys.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing you mentioned which is very important, as in the freebies.
Yeah.
Right? And I could imagine at a time it wasn't easy for yourself.
Yeah.
Like we spoke about off camera a bit of mental health.
Yeah.
How was it for you, obviously, starting the business?
Yeah, I think with these types of things, these podcasts, and when people speak openly about like success, I guess, and business and entrepreneurship, the general approach is that people are, oh yeah, everything's amazing. I turned over this much money this month and da-da-da-da. They talk about that. And I think one of the biggest challenges with an entrepreneur, especially when you're conscious of your personal brand, is whether you do that and you say everything's fantastic, oh, it's amazing, yeah, no problems at all, or whether you be transparent and you be true to yourself and say, well, actually, there are difficult times in that journey. And I've experienced a lot of depression over the years. I mean, weirdly, I don't get anxiety. Like, that's just not something that kind of hits me. But depression is one of those things that's really impacted me ever since I was young, to be honest. Not all the time, but it happens, comes and goes. And anyone that's had depression, you kind of know that sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's a bit easier, sometimes you feel fine. And yeah, like I said, when I wrote that bucket list, I was depressed. I was in a really bad state. I had this thing that had happened in my life that had caused that. But then throughout the business, there's been times where I've had it because of outside influences. I've had it because for no reason, and I've struggled with that. And even the past 3 months or so, maybe not so much recently, but there was like a big kind of 3 to 6 month period where it was very difficult for me personally.
Mind me asking why that was?
I mean, struggles in the business, and business has hills and valleys. You know, things go well, things don't go well. So there's things in the business, things in my personal life, relationships breaking down. There was a different factors at play. I mean, the actual traveling, I love the traveling. Coming back, you kind of fine when you're there, and when you come back, there's that and that I think that's natural with a lot of people. But that just sent me on this kind of spiral of getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where, in a good way, it made me really reflect on my life. So, I mean...
What were some of the things you learned when you reflected?
Yeah. I think for me, how to get over depression, or how to not get over it, but deal with it. The first thing for me is to acknowledge it and take action. Which is easier said than done, because when you're in that state, I don't know whether you guys have ever experienced depression. Some people get it, some people don't. And the first time my ex-girlfriend said to me, she went, I never really had depression. And I was like, because I thought everyone had depression, everyone had been depressed. And she was like, no, just never affects me. But the first thing is, take action. Like I said, easier said than done. Realise that you need to try and do something to make a change. I think the kind of the thing that I've really been focused on recently is this idea of energy. Like, what gives me energy, what takes away energy. So looking at those things, writing it down on a piece of paper, not being... I think sometimes we're a little bit scared to like think too formally about things. I'm going to write this... Why, like, you know, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with sitting there writing this down? So take action, energy, what gives you energy, what takes away energy. And what I did is I started looking at those things and saying, these things, these people are not good for me. I come away from the experience with them and I don't feel happy about it. I feel drained. I feel sad. I feel like I didn't have a valuable experience. Things in my life, similar things, like taking those things away, but then also looking at the things that bring you value. So to give you some examples, one of the things that really gives me energy, is networking. It sounds really, really sad, but I love the buzz of going into a room, especially when there's like a beer or a glass of wine, having a glass of wine, being really chill, just talking to people, finding out about their business and talking about my business, my journey. I love that. Another thing that really gives me value is, energy, is speaking to people who are in a similar position as me. Speaking to other entrepreneurs, because you can share stories. And like, you know, even a few weeks ago, me and a group of entrepreneurs, we sat down, we had some beers, and it was such a heartwarming experience, because you realise that they're going through the same things that you're going through. They're experiencing the same struggles that you're experiencing. They feel isolated and alone in the same way that you feel isolated and alone. And it was genuinely emotional. So those things, I started to realise that those things were things that gave me energy. So do more of those things. Things that take away energy. There are people, we all have these people who either consciously or subconsciously take your energy away from you. And there's one person, for example, will always do things, in my opinion, consciously, to assert their authority over everyone else in the group. cutting people off, or like if you say something, just dismissing what's being said. I just ain't got time for people like that. Like people that have to do those things to try and make themselves feel better. Cut those people out of your life, or people that maybe aren't on the same energy level as you. They're down here and everything's bad and the world's rubbish and all this kind of stuff. And you know people that you're thinking about people. You're thinking about people that feeling sorry for themselves and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, you are dragging me down a little bit. And it sounds really, really bad, but when you're like depressed, when you're in a bad state, you've got to think about these things. Put yourself around those things that give you energy. Stay away from those things that drain energy. And then the third thing that I think is really important is understanding what I call your pillars. So what are the key driving forces in your life that motivate you or give you power, give you energy, give you that will to kind of continue? So as an example, if you get a buzz from being around people, let's say for argument's sake, you love being around people, that's one of your key pillars, that socializing, having connections, people knowing who you are, whatever it is, whether when you say it out loud it sounds bad or sounds, I don't know, indulgent or egotistical, whatever those things are, if that's one of your things, go and be with people. For me, once again, it sounds a little bit indulgent, a little bit egotistical, but I've always had this desire to prove myself, like ever since I was young. And for me, fortunately, that's been a really good thing. It pushed me to become head prefect at school. It pushed me to have the best grades. It pushed me to be on the school council, on the sports teams, all of that kind of stuff. It pushed me to do these things. So if that pushes me forward and that's a driving force in my life, that's a key important thing, what can I do to either create those scenarios or to better myself? So for me, coming back to the kind of point about depression, I started doing a lot around reading, like educational things, listening to podcasts. I really started focusing on my health a lot. So I'm wearing my Whoop tracker. Like I'm really, like I'm really into that stuff. So I understood that one of my key pillars was being the best that I can be, proving myself, like trying to get to the next level. So I then started doing things that would help me do that. And that kind of ignited a fire in me that allowed me to get out of that state of depression. But it's easier said than done. And anyone that's listening to this who is depressed, it is hard. It's just about taking action and doing the obvious things, exercise, nutrition, like keeping on top of those things.
And you would say everything you just mentioned is what got you out of
Yeah. And if you come back to the bucket list, when I was in that state then, that was what coming back to those kind of key pillars, what keeps me going? Okay, I like doing activities. I like ticking things, even if I didn't have a bucket list at the time, but ticking things off the list, trying new things, having those experiences, creating memories. Okay, well, what can I do? Oh, well, I'll make a bucket list to actually give me a clear, focused path on how to achieve those things. Number one, I'm going to go to a yoga class. Number two, I'm going to try dance class, etc., etc. So yeah, I think it's really important. Take action. Try those things.
Perfect. I just want to move on to the early stages of your life.
Yeah.
Because we've discussed who you are.
Yeah.
And the troubles you've gone through to become who you are.
Yeah.
But who was you before all of this?
Like I was saying earlier, like a typical entrepreneur, they're always like, I left school early, I'm a dropout, and you got all that kind of stuff.
Now I'm rich, I made it.
Yeah. I'm not like that, if I'm being honest. I'm an intelligent person. I got good grades. Like I said earlier, school council, head prefect. I was a proper nerd, but our school genuinely was a really good atmosphere because those things weren't necessarily looked down on. Everyone got on with everyone. It was a really, really good vibe. So I've always been, I guess, an achiever. I was at a comprehensive school from a very working class background, managed to get the grades to go to King Edward's Five Ways, so grammar school, different style of school. And if I'm honest, I mean, I had a good experience. I did make some really good friends there, but it knows it's a good school, and that's felt in terms of within the students and within the teachers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I really love my comprehensive school. I love that kind of upbringing. I think it gave me so many skills. But yeah, went to this to a good sixth form. I didn't do very well in my first year. So I've been academically bright all through school. I didn't do very well in my first year, my AS levels.
Why?
I think the jump up was quite difficult. And I was just like, I think like maths, for example, I was always good at maths. A star at GCSE, didn't revise, anything like that. Wow. Did it A level. Yeah, did it at A level. And yeah, I think I was sat next to a guy that I really got on with, which probably didn't help. We disrupted each other. But yeah, it was a big jump. Didn't do very well. In the grand scheme of things, what that actually meant was that I couldn't apply for university at the end of AS.
Ooh.
So
what did you get?
yeah, I could apply for university, but not the universities I wanted to get.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So what ended up happening is in my second year, I had to do my A2s and do my ASs all in the same year. So eventually, it meant that I had to take a year out after sixth form. So I couldn't go to college, I couldn't go to university, didn't have anything to do. So I ended up on the dole, which we were talking about this earlier.
Explain what the dole is,
Yeah, explain what that is.
Someone in my podcast last game on was like, would you buy a car from the dole? And what is the dole?
Yeah. I think it might be a generational thing, but like the dole is basically the job centre, like going on job seekers allowance. And like I said, I'm not that much.
Is that like UC or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess. I think universal credit wasn't really like a thing when I was on it. But I'd just like to say that I don't think I'm that much older than you two. Like, I don't know.
We're 22.
Yeah, you earlier said that you thought I was 24, 25.
Yeah, I thought you
so
said
I just keep it at that. But yeah, so we did that. But the thing about that experience was that they talked to you like you're stupid. And I knew I wasn't stupid. I knew I had good grades. I knew I went to a good school. And they talked to you like you're an idiot. And they're trying to send you to jobs that just aren't matching your skill set and all this kind of stuff.
What kind of jobs did you give you?
I'm talking like manual labour kind of stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. But that's all they could really offer, I guess. And I don't think that's...
Try to learn a skill or trade.
Yeah. I could go on for hours about, in my opinion, the failings of the job centre. Because I think if you've got a good group of entrepreneurs in there and looked at the whole system, they could revolutionise that system. Because we've tried to recruit from there as well. And it's just terrible. It's diabolical how they do it. But anyway, I digress. So I did that process. I ended up getting a job working at an ice rink. Mm-hmm. So I was working at an ice rink in a bowling alley, and which links to obviously what I'm doing now. I started off giving out skates. Then I ended up going into the kitchen. Then I worked in the bar. Then I worked in reception. And eventually, within about 6 months, I was head of marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. And I was 19 at the time, and I was head of marketing, and I was managing these people that were a lot older than me. Because what I would do is I would basically say, for example, we need to go flyering in these areas. You guys go and do that. This school, let's go and do some promotional work at this school. Mm-hmm. Let's do some stuff on social media here. So I was doing like the whole big picture. And there was these people that were 30, 40, 50-year-old that I was having to basically manage, and they caused a bit of animosity. Like some of them didn't like it.
What did they do? Because whenever we hear a young manager, older workers, always a problem.
I don't think it got to the point where it impacted like relationships, but you could tell that if you asked them to do something, it'd be like, they wouldn't have the same respect as if it was the 30, 40-year-old manager. But my manager at the time, who was a really, really cool guy, he said to me, when you're on the ladder climbing up, there's always someone at the bottom trying to shake you off. All the time, there's always someone trying to shake you off. And it was true because some people don't like when some people are successful. Mm. And when it then directly interferes in their life, this person's telling me I've got to do this day and I've got to go out and do flying this day, makes it even worse. So there's generally a bit of people dragging the feet, people kind of finding it difficult to be taking instructions. Other managers, other supervisors not liking the fact that I was managing this one area, which actually then directly impacted them, directly impacted their scheduling of staff, for example.
Yeah.
But it didn't cause like two major issues because I've always been quite good at negotiating, managing relationships and that kind of stuff. So I did that. Obviously, in that marketing role, I learned about how these leisure industries work. So fast forward, during this year off, I started something called Fourth Wall. I won't give you the ins and outs, the whole life story, but quickly I started this other organisation called Fourth Wall. Fourth Wall is basically a social enterprise that delivers training to young people in like hard to reach communities. We do stuff in Northfield and all this kind of stuff. And I started that alongside this job. And then went to university and was running this social enterprise throughout university. And then left university. And as I left university, I was like, you know what? I don't think Fourth Wall is going to be the thing that is going to allow me to get to where I want to be. So set up a marketing agency. Like I said, I won't go into the ins and outs because I don't think this is as valuable as some of the other conversations, but started a marketing agency, did pretty well, got a few decent contracts, bought a nice car, bought some nice suits, doing pretty well. But once again, it was this element of, I'm going to have to be doing this for like 10, 15 years to be getting the big contracts, 10, 15 years to be able to grow my team. Like I'm going to have to really put my heart and soul on this for a long time to be able to compete with the big boys because everyone's got a marketing agency nowadays. Like everyone's doing that.
SMMA.
Yeah, it's just, and the competition is just ridiculous. So I kind of changed. I started another business. I spoke to you guys earlier about this, but this business, in my opinion, was an amazing business.
It is.
It was. I think it's a good. No, this isn't Buckt. This is the one that didn't work.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the one that didn't work. So I thought this was a quality business. I thought it was a great idea. And what I was doing was using my connections in like the social space, the charity sector, which I had built a lot of connections over the years, and then made it more corporate. So what this business was basically a social value consultancy. And without going into like I said, without going into the details, big companies, when they apply for public sector contracts, such as building a new motorway, building a hospital, building a school, whatever, they have to show something called social value.
Okay.
And social value is this idea that they have to do something that positively impacts the community. Generally, what that happens is that they go, oh, well, we'll create 30 apprenticeships. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. Like you've got this low wage labour to come and help you your job. Okay, fantastic. But yes, so you do the apprenticeships. And what we were saying was actually there's other ways of doing this. There's ways of connecting you with social enterprises and charities that could benefit from your network, your value, your net worth, your wealth, your resources, and actually have a genuine impact. So one of the ideas that we had was you have vans and lorries that you use, but they're not used from this time to this time. Why don't you then allow this homeless charity to use them to distribute like sleeping bags to homeless people, for example. So instead of them having to kind of carry them around in a bag, you can give them your vans. This then we can quantify as how much impact you're having, and you can then put that in your application. I think that's a really good idea. If somebody else wants to go out and do that, that's absolutely fine.
Great idea.
The problem was that I just was not the right person to do that.
Why is that?
I was a young guy. I was like 23, maybe a little bit older, 24, I guess. Around that age. I mean, this is showing my age, isn't it? And I didn't have the credibility. I didn't have really any experience in procurement or these big public sector organisations. So it wasn't the right time for me to do that. I wasn't the right person to do that. And I think if you had someone that had been in procurement for 30 years or worked in the public sector for 30 years and they had all these connections and they had this credibility, they had the reputation, it would fly. But for me, it just didn't work, man.
So one thing I've noticed, it seems like you're someone who has a lot of ideas, you're trying to do a lot of things at once. Me and my partner had the same issue.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we're running the podcast.
Yeah.
We're doing sales. I'm trying to do my own YouTube video, trying to build another marketing agency. He's trying to do his own content, trying to build a marketing agency while doing all this in the midst. What advice would you give to us? Because when you're trying to do too many things at once, it's like you're pulling yourself so many things.
Yeah.
A lot of things are giving way.
when I was younger, every entrepreneur that I spoke to, every successful entrepreneur I spoke to, basically said, you need to focus. You're not going to be able to make, you might have 5 things that are okay, but you're not going to have one thing that's fantastic. And there is a bit of a push at the moment around having multiple revenue streams and stuff. I get that. That's great. And I've got different revenue streams that I've got now. But to really have an impact and to create something that has the potential of ultimately making lots of money and selling and making you a millionaire, you're not going to do that if you're focusing on 5 or 6 different things. The expression that I was told when I started out, and this is more for when you're coming up with your business idea, but I think it stands with what we're talking about, is have a monopoly of a niche. And what that means is be the best, own this really small space. Be the best and the one that everyone knows, but in that small space. And, I think with what we've done as a business, we've tried to do that. We've tried to have this quite niche idea, but we're the only ones doing it. We try to be, to stand out and to get that attention from being the only ones that are doing it. And I think that kind of transcends into young entrepreneurs like yourself. You guys are clearly ambitious, clearly talented, but just try and find that thing that you can do better than anybody else and try and find that specific focal point that you're going to apply that skill set and that mindset to. Because ultimately, there's only a certain number of hours in the day. And
hell yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
And I think if you want to make something fantastic, you can't be half-assed about it. You can't put 50%
I've started to feel it within the podcast as well. Like, we went from a point of having reels every day
twice
to it's
a day.
like, yo, we
Trailers
dropped,
edited.
and it's like,
Yeah.
wow. But it's like
wow.
we've been able to earn a lot more money than we was earning before. But it's like, now we've got the revenue. It's like, wow, that's just got completely disregarded.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't build this for myself now. It's like,
Yeah. If you want something that's 100%, you can't get 50%. Like, if you want something that's the best, you got to put the best into it. And if you put in, and I've struggled with this as well, man. This is why, like I was talking to you guys earlier about, I'm at the moment really trying to get my personal brand out there and trying to do those things because
but as you said, you're still running your business.
Yeah, still in my business. And I made a conscious decision to kind of bury myself in the business. But I let that personal brand side, the public speaking, podcast appearance, all that, I let that fall to the wayside. I knew I couldn't do those things and do the business. I used to be involved in a lot of boards. I was on like a trustee for like national charities. I was a school governor, chair of governors at a primary school, all this stuff. I knew that I was not going to be able to give 100% to them and then expect the business to be 100%. And I think you've got to...
So what did you do? Drop them?
Yeah, you dropped them, yeah. But I think...
So do you know like business ideas? Like, I had one business idea to do people being people. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
But then it's like, even now, with what we're doing now, where would I find the time to do anything like that? And it's like, you have so many ideas you want to do, and it's like, I don't have the time.
So a few tips that I would say. The first thing...
I have three ideas.
Three ideas,
so
okay.
it's like this, which is going well. The sales, and then a marketing agency, which I really want to do, and also my YouTube. But then it's
That's
like...
four.
It's four, but it's like... very...
The first thing that I would say is if you can get a co-founder, get a co-founder. So you guys have got each other. Mm-hmm. For me, if I had a co-founder for this business, I'm a sole founder. I did it by myself. If I had a co-founder, I know we would be 2-3 years ahead of where we're at now. Yeah. Because you're never going to employ someone that gives as much to the business as you do, 100%. And as soon as you realise that, the quicker you can get past it. You're never going to employ someone who works the long hours, who cares as much as you do, who has as much energy and focus on the business. But when you've got a co-founder, you've got two of you. Two of you putting the same energy and two of you working the late nights, two of you that are giving their all to make this work. So that's the first thing, get a co-founder. The second thing, which kind of links more to the idea that you want to push forward, if you've got this idea, and I bang on about this a lot, but fall in love with the problem, not the solution. So what I see a lot with young people, I sound like an old man, don't I? Yeah, it is young
people.
What I see with a lot of like younger entrepreneurs, not young, is that they go, oh, I've got this idea. Oh, this idea is amazing. It's gonna work. This is such a good idea. But what they've not done is they've not actually identified whether there's a problem that people have that would make them spend money to buy that solution. So the idea, fall in love with the problem. The problem should be the focal point, and the solution, i.e. the business idea, is secondary. So identify the problem that you're solving, then test to actually find out whether people have that problem, whether they experience that problem. If you feel that people do have that problem, then you move forward. Okay, what's the solution? Test that people like the solution. Do they like the idea? Will they pay money for it? If you get to this stage and people they don't like the solution, you can kind of go back a step. But if you've gone, you know what, I've put all my life savings into this idea and I've seen this happen, all my life savings into this idea, it's going to work, but they've not actually gone out and asked people whether they've got a problem that this solution would solve. It ain't going to work. And there was someone that I knew who had a subscription business, started roughly the same time I started mine, and she put in like 100 grand or something.
100 grand.
And when I told me that, I was like, who's got 100 grand lying around? Like, I know that I have it, and I've really, I know that I don't have 100 grand lying around, firstly. Secondly, she wasn't turning over a fraction of what we were turning over. Didn't have a fraction of the subscribers. And I was like, have you gone out and... I didn't say it in that way, but like I was kind of trying to get to the point of like, had you gone out and spoke to people? Had you gone out and actually asked if people wanted to pay for this type of product? Is there a problem there? So that's the first thing. Like, if you've got an idea, do all that before you start committing time, committing energy, because you might find that you test it and people don't want it, so you can then focus on these other three things. So get a co-founder. As soon as you can get a team, get a good team. Understand your limitations. Realize that you're not superhuman and you can't do everything. Yeah.
That's it. I'm really not.
And also be very value driven, as in what value is this creating? And I've been quite strategic about things that I've done. Well, this is the thing. Is it money? Is it fame? Is it whatever?
I mean, it would give more freedom if to me to actually quit the job to maybe focus more on the stuff I actually want to do, like this.
Yeah.
And YouTube.
But in the short term, is the value that you're going to get from starting the business a bit enough to, let's talk about wealth. Is that wealth enough to sustain your life?
Possibly,
they're the questions you got to ask. So I only you can really understand that and decide that. But I promise you, you might get lucky and you might make 10 things work that are really, really well, but you are more likely to make something work if you focus on one thing. And if anyone tells you different that's done it and they've made 5 things work, they're the exception, not the rule. They've made 5 things work and each one's turned over £10 million. There's 10,000 other people that have tried to do the same thing that have failed. They're the exception, not the rule. That's an important thing to remember.
Right.
Deep, man. It's getting deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's been on my mind for like however long now.
I mean, we've spoken to a few people, and everybody has something different to say. Like, when you hear like Alex Hormozy, he says, drop everything, focus on the one thing, go all ham in that.
Yep.
And then you're like, nah, but surely I can just do this thing. And it's just...
My thing is,
realization.
if money wasn't a thing and I didn't need it to pay the bills and actually survive, then the job could have just been dropped already.
You wouldn't be doing it right now?
I wouldn't be doing it. I'll just be doing what I actually want to do and grow what I actually want to do.
Because as I mentioned, obviously you mentioned in sales, when the money's as good as that, we're like, I ain't going to say how. but like when you can make what people make in a month in a week, it's like, yo, let me just stay here for so long.
Yeah.
And then, but obviously, as you could imagine, everything else is suffering because the hours are long. Like you start at 11, get home about 11.
Yeah.
And then you still got your own videos to edit, client videos to edit, and then your own content is like ridiculous.
The other thing as well is I started when I was young, and when you're 40 and you've got 2 kids and a wife and a house and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot more difficult to just drop everything and focus on follow your dreams, I guess, focus on the business. And I saw people where they were a bit older, they had the business, and then, next time you see me, like, I had to stop this because I wasn't going to be able to pay the bills, I had to get a job. So when you're younger, I know everyone's circumstances are different, but if you can live with a parent, or you can keep your costs as low as possible, or whatever.
That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, or you've got like a student loan that you can just like
SFE.
Yeah.
That was some good times.
I would say it's significantly easier. Well, it's significantly easier to do it when you're younger, unless you've been successful in older life. If you've been successful in older life and you've got, like I say, 100 grand, 200 grand, $500,000, whatever in your bank because you've had a nice payout from your boss or whatever, obviously that's a totally different ball game. But if just the normal person, definitely, in my opinion, easier to do when you're a bit younger.
Yeah. So you would say while we're young and everything, just do it.
Take the plunge, man. I think whilst you're young, you should be capitalising on that as much as possible.
Which is why I'm trying to make my monthly expenses as low as possible.
Yeah.
And just go all in.
Yeah. It's worth taking the risk, man. It's all risk, isn't it? Risk and rewards.
Would you say there are external factors to avoid, like people, friends, events, stuff, to basically focus on business? Because I already know if we put everything and every minute into it, even though that's kind of hard because, as I say, your focus isn't always going to be there. But do you think it's possible to do everything you want to do?
Is this question of, if you're not giving 100%, how can you expect to have a 100% product? Like if you're not giving your all, how can you expect that thing to be the best?
That's what I'm saying. It's like you have 100%. You had 100% with the podcast. Now it's 50. I would say you couldn't even say it's 50%. Could drop down to like 20%.
It's like 25.
25.
If you got four things,
I know.
And then you've got 100%. You split that 4 ways. That's 25.
So if you was to have all these business ideas, which you already have, you would just pick one.
Yeah, and you've got to be sure, because I've got another idea.
Because that's what I'm saying. You said you had another idea.
I've got another idea.
Already full time with the current business.
It's about making calculated decisions and understanding the risk and the rewards, and being very critical, being very analytical and logical about how you do that. You have to make those decisions when you run a business, and one of the hardest things, in my opinion, is saying no. First thing is saying no, but also knowing when to quit. And we don't often realise that actually quitting something that isn't working or persisting with something that could be great, there's a really fine line between that. So you might think with your marketing company, you might do it for a year and you're not getting to where you want to be. You've got to make a decision then. Am I going to stop and put my time into something else? Am I going to believe in this and push forward? And I think that's a very, very difficult thing for an entrepreneur to do. One of the most important decisions that you have to make, and one of the hardest things you have to do.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I come back 6 months, like, you know what, but because this is the baby, you get me? Like, this has already been invested into, and it's like you're trying to find something, because I know this is more of a long-term investment, obviously with income. However, the agency is more, I could get that within the next couple of months.
Just I think it's worth taking the plunge. Do your testing before, do your research, find that problem.
Done a hell of a lot of research. As I said, I've already put a lot into it now. It's just getting that time to sit down to full stuff, and it's like, yo, I need a
you need something.
Saturday, imagine I come back Saturday, I was conked, but I was tired
because he was gone for the whole week away from home. Came back Saturday. Like, my bed feels
don't
good.
Get me wrong, the money was great for the week, but then it's like I got all this money now. I can't even focus on. I've grew somebody else's stuff, but not my own.
The other thing that I would say is just try and spend time to come up with something unique as well. So this whole idea of monopoly of a niche and having a unique product, I think that's really, really important personally, because if you try and do something that everyone else is doing, I don't know, man, it makes your life a bit more difficult when you start the business. But if you put a bit more time and a bit more effort at the beginning to try and make it unique, have a quirk, have a unique USP or whatever, then it makes it more easy as you move forward. So
appreciate the advice.
No, it's cool, man. It's cool. I'm happy to chat about it.
All right, but one thing we're gonna speak about, which we did speak about earlier, ADHD. Now, this is something my brother actually has himself, and obviously he runs trading and he's doing his own thing now. And obviously, how do you do it? How does it work for you? Because you said it also can be a very controversial topic. How nowadays, I don't want to get myself in trouble, so I'm looking at the camera. A lot of people say they have ADHD. With a small diagnosis. So
what is it first?
Yeah. So what is it to begin with? So the main two elements of ADHD are lack of concentration, struggling to concentrate, and hyperactivity, impulsiveness. So they're the two kind of key factors when it comes to ADHD. So lack of concentration, for me, the things are, and this was the most profound thing when I started kind of looking into it, and when it was becoming apparent that I had it. ADHD brain, the stream of consciousness is different from like a non-ADHD brain. Mm-hmm. And there are videos online, which I would highly recommend checking out, which have like artificially created what it's like. And when I saw these videos for the first time, it was genuinely like quite mind-blowing. Like actually quite emotional to see that, because I'd always lived my life thinking that the way that my brain worked was normal, whereas you see this as being highlighted as an abnormality to a degree. And that's what my brain's like. And there was times where it was actually quite emotional. So the analogy that I give is like a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. So in Disney World, I'm a big Disney nerd, which kind of links to like the business and entertainment and leisure and all that kind of stuff. There's a roller coaster called Space Mountain, okay? Space Mountain's got 2 tracks. And the 2 tracks are running at the same time, and they kind of cross over and all this kind of stuff. And it's also, you're in the dark, the track changes direction quite fast, there's drops when you don't expect it. That is how I see my brain. I could be thinking about one thing, and then it will just change direction, think about something else. Then I'll think about something else, and then I might go back to the thing that I was thinking about originally. And some of the conversation here might have had that kind of going back to the points we were talking about previously. But then at the same time, you've got this other stream of consciousness that's going through at the same time. And that could be a song. I could have a song going on in my head whilst I'm having a conversation to you. I could have another thought coming through. I could be thinking about my phone and thinking, oh, I've got to go and do this later. Or
And you would say that's the mind of someone who has ADHD?
Yeah, but if you look at how it... So that's one of the factors. That's not the defining factor.
That's not the defining
factor.
So that's... Because couldn't anybody just...
I was going to say...
on their phone thinking one thing, accidentally check TikTok and then come back?
But this is probably one of the reasons why it's becoming quite a trend and becoming quite... I know, I've got to be careful what I say. But it's becoming quite like... like a thing.
How everybody's just...
Yeah. It used to be like anxiety, and then now it's ADHD, and it's becoming a thing. And I get that. And TikTok doesn't help with that. But then at the same time, TikTok really highlights some of those traits. So another thing around lack of concentration is forgetfulness. And this doesn't now... I've always had really...
I was about to say, I'm fitting right.
Sometimes I forget something, they come back 2 minutes and that's it.
But this is... So with ADHD, it's like working memory. Okay. So working memory is if you're going about your day, you've got this working memory that allows you to kind of, I guess, retain information that allows you to fulfill that task. Mm-hmm. The example that the thing that I've noticed, and actually I didn't notice this until I saw that it was like a thing, was that I could get up, I'm sat there working on my laptop, my battery's running out, I need to get my charger. I'll get up, and as I get up, I'm thinking, oh, I'm thirsty now. I'll go and have a drink. Then I'll walk and go, oh, I'm a little bit cold, I'll go and get my jumper. I walk past the mirror and I say, oh, I've got a bit of dry skin now, I'm going to put a bit of moisturiser on or whatever. I'll go and then, oh, I'm going to have a banana, have some food. And I sit down and I forgot the charger. And everyone has these things. Yeah. And that's why there's a real fine line between ADHD and like just being a bit forgetful. But my working memory is really, really poor. I could literally be doing a task and then I'll get distracted by something and I would not have a clue what I was doing. Like I wouldn't have a clue.
I mean, that's kind of like me when I'm editing. I'll be editing, then I'll go on Google real quick because something's popped up in my head, completely irrelevant to what I'm editing. Google it, search, and I'll go downstairs for some water.
Then? I don't know, man. I'm not a trained professional.
Because I could just say, yesterday, in fact, I had a list of things I needed to do, but before I did any of them, I had to have a bath, and when I had to bath, I had to go make sure I had some food so I can get ready to do all the tasks. Before I do all the tasks, I had to sit down, watch a bit of TV. Then I done the task, and then I was...
So there's a difference between procrastination
or maybe that was procrastination.
So I don't quote me on this because there's going to be things with people that are a lot more up to this than I am. But so you've got that lack of concentration on the one side. On the other side, you've got this hyperactivity and you've got this impulsiveness. The basics around it are ADHD people have an insufficient or a lower level of dopamine. So dopamine is this happy hormone. It's a feel-good hormone. And when things happen in your life, you get these little buzzes or these little this hormone gets released. ADHD people, they don't have that as much as as a non-ADHD person. So there is this element of like trying to find things to give you that. And it makes things like relationships quite difficult because, you know, if you're in a routine or if you're in like a safe place, it gets like boring. It gets more boring than it would for a non-ADHD person. It gets frustrating. It gets like agitating. So that's the one thing. So you're constantly trying to get like that rush, I guess. And we said earlier, it was only recently that I realised the irony of the business that I've created. I created this business which every month you're getting this new rush of activities, things to do. It's this surprise and this adrenaline, this dopamine rush. I created this business before I even it'd been two and two had been put together that I had ADHD. So yeah, it's just quite interesting that I've created a product which, to be honest, is like perfect for someone with ADHD because you constantly get because
there's always something for you to do.
But so come back to the hyperactivity, impulsiveness. ADHD people have things like stimming. So it's basically you do repeated impulsive things that you don't have control of to try and that soothes you and relaxes you. So shaking your legs. I play with my beard. So if I sit, I play with my beard, pulling your beard hairs, all that kind of stuff, So those types of things, and then but there's other factors that play. There's, I mean, like hyperfixation. So you get you struggle with focus, but then when you get focused on something, you'll forget to eat, you'll forget to have a wash, you'll forget to do these things.
No, I think I fit in the category.
Yeah, but what I would say is,
bro, I've gone a whole day editing. I've got to 8 a.m. Whoa, I haven't even.
Eaten. But this is the problem. I think there is a fine line, and it's not saying that people don't have it or people do have it. It's kind of. It's become a bit of a trend.
So what are the tests being done then? To really,
so you have to
just actually somebody who clearly has ADHD compared to somebody who says they had ADHD and fortunately enough got diagnosed for them.
Yeah. So you initially have to go through a test where you get asked a series of questions and there's a score, and then that score basically, this is the main thing, and then the score basically identifies if you hit certain key marks on that, then you get it. But one of the things we were talking about earlier, which is really interesting, is that private healthcare, where you can get a diagnosis, the tests that they do are like minimal compared to what the NHS do. So people can pay for it, and then they've got this diagnosis, and the thing, the frustration that I have with it, and this is across the board really. When you get told that you have something, whether that's ADHD or whatever, I think people don't adapt if they didn't know. So if you don't know you've got something, so let's say, this is a really, really kind of over the top example, but let's say you've got a child, and you're a teenager or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you don't think you've got ADHD, you have to adapt. You have to kind of, you put things in place that allow you to be focused, which is what I did. I created methods and different tools that allow me to remain focused. If you know you've got ADHD, you're a bit like, well, that's just who I am, that's
like an excuse.
Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit of an excuse, and I'm not saying that that's the case with everyone, but I think sometimes not knowing something does have its benefits because you don't then use it as an excuse or a barrier for not doing things the way that they should be done or the way that you want to do them or achieving the successes that you have. But I mean, where it all came from was my ex-partner. She was an assistant head teacher. She'd gone through programs around special educational needs and ADHD. She'd done all this stuff, and she was just like, are you sure you haven't got ADHD? Like, are you sure? And my mom had, in my head, we'd spoke about this previously with my mom like years ago, and she had said that she spoke to someone and it was diagnosed. It was basically identified that I don't have ADHD. Okay. And I thought that she'd spoken to a doctor or a nurse. I'd gone through a whole process. And when this conversation started to come up, I went and spoke to her. She said, "Oh no, I just spoke to your nursery teacher." So I'd lived my life. I'd been dismissing this thought that I've got ADHD, especially from what my ex-partner was saying, because I thought that I'd been told that I hadn't had it. But he was like, no, just had a chat with it. They said you drink too much, like, I don't know, orange squash or something. Just ease down on the sugar.
Yeah.
So then that happened. Then spoke to the doctors, and I was seeing these, like I said, these videos that made sense. And I think what it is when you show these videos and you say, well, is this something that you have as a person? They say, well, that doesn't make sense to me, but it makes sense to you. It's just quite a profound experience, because your whole life you've lived a way and you don't know whether the way your brain works is normal or not normal, really, because you're just in your own head. But then when someone highlights that that's not something that they experience, or that's not something that a neurotypical person would experience, I don't know, it's just quite...
Yeah.
But I don't know, it had a really, really profound experience on me.
So when, obviously, a lot of the stuff started to correlate to exactly how you've lived your life.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself going into patterns where you're like, oh, I recognize this?
Yeah. So the getting distracted when I was doing things, so going to do one thing and then doing 10 things in between that thing, I never ever noticed that. I genuinely never noticed that. But then when I started to be pointed out to me, I realised, I mean, today I think it was something like small things, but I think I just cleaned my teeth, or I washed my face, something like that. And then as I was drying my hands, I noticed that the toothbrush, the lid to the toothpaste was off. So I went to do that, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm in the middle of, just,
in the middle of one thing.
Yeah. And it sounds so stupid, but it's just that total distraction. Mm-hmm. And I'd never really noticed that, because I'm a high achiever, intelligent, I'd done well in my business. People would dismiss it and say, like my parents, for example, they were like, well, you've always been, good at school, and you've got good grades and all this kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, I get that, but then that doesn't change how my brain works. And there's a lot of famous people, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, who have these neurodivergents that make a success of themselves, because actually they lean into them and use them as a superpower instead of seeing it as a weakness, which is what I really believe, like, especially with ADHD, that it is a real gift. It's not like a bad thing, it's a gift. And I mean, the memory thing, the example that, like, the way that I look at it is like the memory thing. I'll do one task and I can just switch on to the next task. I purge my brain. You asked me what I did a second ago, I don't have a clue.
But this is what I say with the sales thing. When men tell you to F off and all of that, bro, next door, 2 doors later, I don't remember that. You get me?
Yeah.
I thought it was a mentality thing, because when I like F off, I'm just like, all right, say no more. You're just mad, innit?
At the end of the day, and you lot are like, oh, how did your day go? I'm like, oh, God, I really think about that one.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. I've got this much.
That's what it matters.
I think what I would just say is that there's definitely going to be people that are watching this who have gone through that experience and are deeper in that journey than I am. So they may be able to give a better perspective on it. So I don't want to come across, pretend I'm the expert on it.
Any ADHD experts?
Yeah, message us.
I don't want to pretend that I'm an expert on it. But like I say, it is when you see these things and see these traits, and there's other things, like more personal things and private things that I can't talk about. When you see these are an indicator of this, you go, actually, that kind of makes sense,
Are you able to track it back to your adolescence when you was younger?
There's a lot of theory. Well, there's a lot of differences on this. Some people are adamant, and some views are adamant that it is biological, and there's no.
Oh, it's biological.
Yeah, and there's not many like outward. It's not to do with your family, like your family, for example. It's not to do with your upbringing. But then there's other traits.
What is it mostly through?
You're asking me to put me on the spot there. There's one train of thought that it's something to do like not being able to speak your mind when you're younger, and parenting, and not being in an environment that isn't accepting of different. I don't know. Like there's different viewpoints on it. I don't know the science and biology around it, but there are key indicators. Things like the low levels of dopamine. I think there's research that shows that you're more likely to get Parkinson's, and there's traits and patterns for people with ADHD that are physiological. But my view is that a lot of it is your nurture and the environment that you're in as well. But yeah, like I said, I think use it as a superpower. Like the fact that your brain's thinking about different things. If you've got everything written down and you know you can come back to that thing, use that energy and that distractibility to kind of do this. Okay, go do this. Use that hyperfixation to get things done. And don't shy away from it.
Facts.
That's
I like that.
Yeah.
Made me understand myself a bit.
Yeah, but speak to someone, man. But the problem is, the only thing I would say is it's taking the provision for ADHD is like notoriously bad in adults. So i.e. the support that you get from the doctors, the waiting list is like years long to get properly seen.
So what support do you feel like you would actually need as an adult?
This is what I mean. I don't
No.
want support. I like the way I am right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually.
And I'm still growing, and I'm
If
still.
you was to be fully diagnosed, Mr. Daniel,
Yeah.
you have ADHD.
Yeah.
How you call him Mr. Daniel? So
Like Daniel's son, crikey.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you have ADHD. What would you expect to change?
There is no support. So when I spoke to the doctors about this, they've said just brace yourself because there's no ongoing support, and that's fine. Like for me, it's fine.
So what's the point of being diagnosed?
There's medication that you can have which
Oh hell no.
helps the focus, helps your brain focus.
And how would they help you focus?
So
If anything, it'll take some lion's mane.
that
would help some focus.
like I said, what I've seen, the stories that I've seen is that.
You know what lion's mane is, isn't it?
What's it?
Lion's mane?
Lion's mane.
Yeah.
I thought
It's like some tea.
It's like a mushroom.
Yeah.
helps you, like,
I actually
focus.
thought you said something else that probably isn't appropriate for the
Oh, what do you think I
podcast.
said?
I don't want to say.
Okay.
It's getting cut off. I don't want to say. I just kind of acting like, yeah, cool. No, but like, I can't remember what I said now.
It was about.
Yeah. So
ongoing support,
apparently, the stories and the things that you see is that it's basically like a silence in your brain. Silence. So if your brain's got all of these different trains of thoughts and all these different things, and it makes it clearer. And to me, that sounds quite interesting.
Sounds kind of
Sound
scary.
like I'll give it a go.
yeah. I think you get it on the market or what.
Give it a go.
But that would be the one thing that I'd do is I would try that. But you're right. This point about I like myself, and
As
actually,
a CEO, you're smashing it though.
This
with
is
all
what I
these
mean.
thoughts.
yes. When you go for the diagnosis, one of the things that they ask, the doctors asked me this, but the ADHD clinic didn't say this. But they said that the process for getting diagnosed is directly linked to how much ADHD impacts your career.
Okay.
So as a self-employed person doing relatively well, it's less of a priority than someone that's struggling to make ends meet because they can't hold down a job or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I do understand. But yeah, this point about liking yourself, the main downside I think is that it's made me doubt myself sometimes. So when I've always had this like assurance in the past that this is my opinion, I'm a pretty like well experienced, connected, intelligent guy. So my opinion is one that I think is reflective of the general population. Therefore, this is what now you think actually is my opinion normal, or is my opinion actually inflated by emotions that are created through ADHD?
I never thought about that.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a hard thing, especially in like relationships. Like if you think you're getting agitated by something because the other person's, and everyone, you have your arguments in relationships, you get frustrated. If you're thinking you're getting frustrated by someone, by the relationship because they're doing something that maybe isn't like pushing the relationship forward or whatever, now you're thinking, am I looking at this wrong? Am I the problem? Yeah. Or if you're reacting to like, let's say something really, because with ADHD there's this thing around anger and emotional control and that kind of stuff. That's agitated me, but is it agitated me because they're in the wrong and they've done something that I should be agitated about, or am I overreacting because of my ADHD? Do you know what I mean? Like that is.
I feel like we got to the point of overthinking now.
Yeah. No, but that's how you think.
I get it.
You know, it's just a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, really. But you're right. You got to trust yourself. You got to be self-assured. I mean. You got to believe in yourself, ain't you? So
That was very interesting.
a bit of friction there.
Yeah, that was a very interesting conversation topic. You want to do your personal question?
Oh yeah, I feel like I haven't asked this in a long time. What's 7 things that you can't live without?
7. Oh man.
He said, "Oh man."
Oh man.
It's the same reaction.
No.
every time.
I think that's a really good question because I like seeing these types of videos. So for me, 100%. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say my laptop over my phone. My laptop, That's got my life on it. If that got stolen, because my iCloud storage has just ran out as well from this trip away. I've just like filled my iCloud storage. If that got stolen or lost, I don't know, man.
I actually turned mine off, I'm surprised you guys kept it.
Bro, I've upgraded to 2 terabytes.
yeah, man's got data. It's got stored. No, but like, it's that, because as an entrepreneur, especially in today's society, everything is on there.
Yeah,
business plans, your contacts, your databases, and there's obviously the cloud now, but I still would be lost without my laptop, my phone, staying connected to people. It's got thoughts on there, it's got notes. And also because of this whole memory thing we talked about earlier with the ADHD, like I'm trying to capture as many moments as possible.
Okay.
When I was away traveling, like I think I took like 1,600, 1,700 photos in the space of a month. Like it was just stupid, because I was doing voice notes and recordings and all that kind of stuff. Everything is on there. Other things that I can't live without. I mean, this is hard. I tell you what, this is actually harder than. I wish I'd been given this one in advance so I could have prepared.
I feel like this is a real self-assessment for a lot of people.
My bed.
Your
And
bed.
this sounds a bit, because, so especially at the moment, I'm getting really into my health and the importance of sleep and how powerful it is, restorative, and I love my sleep. And I'm also one of these people that I have like loads of, like not loads of pillows, but I have like tactical pillows like all around me. Like, yeah. I can't, some people can just sleep on like a sofa or sleep on like one flat pillow.
I sleep on the one flat pillow.
I can't do that.
Sometimes I just sleep on the mattress, no pillow. Like.
I know some people
I feel
like,
I heard that's meant to be good for your vertebrae.
Yeah. I'm not like that, man. I have to have a comfort. I mean, I tell you what, when I wear a blazer, I always have to have a pocket square.
Okay.
I feel like that is just. I'm not saying I couldn't live
out there.
I'm not saying I can't live without it, but if I dress up, man, if I'm going to work or going to the office or doing something like this, pocket square, I feel like it just completes the look. It's such an easy thing that costs about £1, but it just makes it look so much more professional.
Yeah, it does, to be fair. Are we adding that one?
Say again.
Are we adding that?
Yeah, throw that one in there. Maybe put blazer and the the pocket square as one, because I think if people know me, they'll know that I'm always got a pocket square and a blazer on. Oh man, it sounds really. They're all really, really boring answers, to be honest.
Throw them out.
I like film and TV is a good way of me switching off.
Okay.
I think if I didn't have like Netflix or whatever, and I couldn't put on a good film, put on a good show after I've been working,
Big facts.
Yeah, it'd be hard. I'm quite good at switching off, but I don't know how I'd fill that time. I don't know how I'd find that thing that helps me switch off.
I'm glad you said that, because the other day, when I kept saying I might just cancel Netflix, I realised after a long day, it's the only time I get to myself to just. Because it used to be the PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, that just putting on that one Netflix show, switch off. That's a very good one. You're the first person to say that as well.
I'm watching that Dahmer at the moment.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, I know I'm a little bit behind. I'm behind the curve a bit.
Yeah, a bit.
Like 6 months, whatever.
I watched that last year.
I think I'll tell you what it is, because what I'll do is I'll pay for like Now TV, and then I'll just like binge on Now TV for like 3 months, and I'll watch something else. And because this is me being quite frugal, but I don't see the point. Netflix and Amazon Prime are an exception, but like I don't see the point of having Now TV for a year and then not watch. I'd rather just watch the things over 2 months and just cancel it.
Think about it, I have the Amazon Prime stick. Got Netflix on it and then Amazon Prime TV. You don't watch Amazon Prime TV.
Yeah, it's not much.
You know what's good recently? Apple TV, bro.
Yeah, Apple TV's got some good stuff.
The series
I used to have it, but like I said, binge watched it for like 3 months, like Ted Lasso and all of that. And then
Ted Lasso was good.
Damn, I ain't watched
You know
it.
what Ted Lasso? It's basically an American football coach. No, he's an American coach coaching football.
Football, yeah, it is good, mate.
So he's like Ollie coaching Manchester United.
Oh.
And then they play shit.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't always do it.
He's actually really, really
There's
good.
so many things I want to watch,
but yeah, oh man, it's hard.
I think you're on about 4.
I know, man. I know
on
this.
five,
I feel like this is impacting the pace of the podcast. Everyone's gonna be switching off now. Cliche, but probably. I don't think this is cliche. I don't know if this is a cheesy answer. My brain. like obviously I'll be dead, but I like being able to think about things. And the problem with my life running a business is actually you spend so much time working that you don't have time to step away and think about stuff. And that's where all this kind of energy, what gives you energy, what doesn't, what are your key pillars. That's why I think it's important to spend time to do those things. So having the capacity to think and create and to come up with ideas and to solve problems, that to me is quite powerful and quite exciting. There's this part with the business where if something happens bad, and I'm like, there's a little part of it, it's like, I'm quite excited about being able to solve this. It's like something could be something really bad, but then I'm like, yep, action stations, let's do this. And I get a bit of a thrill from that.
One to go.
I know, man, but I'm trying to think of something that's interesting. So there's like...
It's a business or something like
The business is probably a good one. I don't think I could live with that, but not in a weird way, but not like I'd die if the business fell. But that kind of, it's good to. I think we all need a purpose, don't we? We all need a direction. Yeah. Some of us entrepreneurial people, you need to have that, and I'm relatively fortunate that I've found something that I can pour my energy and soul into. The difficult thing and the bit that I don't envy is when you're at that earlier stage and you haven't got that idea yet, you haven't got that thing. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that, because we've had investment. The pressure from the boards to hit targets is not nice. It's not easy. It's customers cancelling or customers giving negative feedback, especially when if they've not read the instructions. But anyway, that's another story. But those things are easy. But actually having a purpose, having something to drive that energy into, with something that I genuinely believe in, I feel very fortunate to be in that position. And we don't take enough time to step back and look at those things that we're fortunate for. And honestly, I don't take enough time to realise that I'm fortunate to be in this position with this business because, I could still be struggling for that idea and I managed to get it.
I'm glad you said that because this is what you were saying about the podcast. We never had a step back to think, wow, we actually do provide some value to some people.
People watch.
But I said that when we came in, like when I was doing the research and stuff, you've got a lot of podcasts that have gone out with some really, really cool people. So, you should be really proud of yourselves.
You should be proud of yourself too.
Oh, cheers.
Well, Daniel, we'd like to obviously thank you for coming onto the podcast. I've definitely learned a lot. I definitely will be subscribing because I need something to do on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And obviously, I wish you all the best with the business. Can we get a sneak peek? What's next? So, are you looking to bring them personalised packages for single people?
So we're
partnerships.
Expanding into Bristol, Bath, Cardiff and Worcester.
Bigger Worcester.
Yeah.
Worcester.
The plan is to keep expanding.
So
roll out this, and then we've got a new app that's like we talked about earlier. It's been taking a bit of time, but it's been in development. But that's coming out soon. The local, like the regional growth is priority, but things like family packages and all that kind of stuff are things we want to do. And there's also other tools and things that we're bringing in to help improve the experience for the customer. Like I said earlier, what do you do when someone says, I don't like all the activities? Yeah. We've got an idea which we think will really help with that we want to bring in. So in terms of activity providers, I mean, I don't really, and this bad memory, I don't really, I'm not in it now. Other people do that. So they'll tell me, and then as soon as they tell me, I'll just forget until the end of the month when I sign it off. Like genuinely. But I think, depends when this goes out, but I think we've got a few new trampoline park partnerships. We've got...
Any escape rooms?
We haven't got any escape rooms going out next month.
Please tell me a rage room. That's what I want to hear.
We haven't got a rage room. We've got...
Because there was only one in Birmingham, right?
There was one. There's ones in other parts of the country, but
that's travelling.
Yeah. The Birmingham one was fantastic. They did a really, really good job, but they had another business that was a bit more lucrative for them. So
fair enough.
Yeah. So there's VR. We've got some VR stuff going out. We've got
okay.
a new comedy show going out.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I was to sign up with my family as a family package, me and my mum.
Yep.
What could I look forward to?
Well, a whole host of things, really. A whole mixture. Like I said, we've got VR, we've got comedy shows, we've got afternoon tea, we've got trampoline parks, we've got I mean, we're coming to the winter months now, so it's going to be things like we've got a crafting workshop, we've got loads of
could be an interesting vlog.
Yeah.
Come with me today to craft.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff. And yeah, so I would say give it a go. There's discounts online. We're going to be putting out more discounts as well for that first month. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And we don't shy away from that. But if you want to try new things, if you're a little bit frustrated with kind of the routine of life, if you want to add a bit of colour to your life, add some interesting experiences and create unforgettable memories, sign up, give it a go.
Right.
Sold.
Yeah.
Sold.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
Brilliant, man. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Daniel, for coming on, man.
Cheers.